going back because it would cost him a whole hell of a lot of money to go back. And I think he's going to make somebody happy on draft day. Whether or not he amounts to anything, I'm not sure. But I know who he reminds me of coming out, and that is a very good thing.
Yeah, and I kind of equate him a little bit to a Blake Bortles type. Big, surprisingly mobile for a guy of that size, but as you said, very raw. And it's tricky because if you can keep Josh McCown, we know you have a great mentor right there, a terrific mentor. However, do you want him starting day one? Does it make sense to sit him and have him learn a little bit under McCown? I think you can probably say that for anybody in this quarterback draft class, it would make sense. But the mobility is very intriguing to me. But the fact that he does look to throw first, it's just kind of the accuracy and everything is just not quite where it needs to be at a pro level.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of question marks that surround him, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But the young man has shown some skills. Otherwise, he wouldn't be considered as highly touted as he is. Got good numbers at a small school. Not sure what he can do against all the big competition, but it's one of those deals where, maybe he comes out and surprises you. Roethlisberger didn't exactly have the best of competition in the Mid-American Conference, all due respect to those guys. But he's not playing the likes of Ohio State, USC, and Florida and Georgia and LSU and all those guys. He's playing the likes of Akron, Toledo, the directional Michigan schools, being Central, Western, and Eastern Michigan. So that's kind of a hang-up, but we'll see come the combine time and come the pre-draft evaluations how he does in his meetings with the teams and if he's able to impress anybody.
Well, it's so funny always because leading up to the combine, there's always, who's top rank coming in? And inevitably, no matter what, coming out of the combine, each position group, especially quarterback and probably wide receiver, I'd say, you fall in love with somebody. Somebody's numbers jump off the page. Somebody's like, oh, wow. And we just have to always remember, all right, these are track and field drills, essentially, but the meetings are so important. And I think Hugh Jackson is going to be doing a lot more evaluating of character and know that a lot better than Ray Farmer and Mike Penton did. So that's Paxton Lynch. The size ideal for the AFC North. We know that. And as you said, hey, if you can get a Ben Roethlisberger type, that's an interesting comparison there, Matt. So Paxton Lynch, ranked number 2 as the quarterback option on most draft boards. Is he worthy, though, Matt? And take the combine out of it right now because we don't know. But all things being equal, Browns pick number 2, Browns pick number 32. Is Paxton Lynch worth a number 2 overall pick?
I would tend to say no, only because there's a lot of question marks about him. But I have a feeling the answer is going to be yes if the right team is there. Keep in mind that the Browns may not have another option. The Tennessee Titans are openly shopping that number 1 overall pick.
Right.
They have their quarterback. Watch for somebody to try and leapfrog. Now, granted, Tennessee will not get the RG3 deal that they want or that they wanted last year to move up either. So I'm convinced that if the Browns draft 2 and Tennessee holds solid at number 1, they're likely going Joey Bosa or one of the offensive linemen out of the SEC with that number 1 overall pick to give Mariota some protection. The Browns will have an opportunity to take Paxton Lynch at number 2 if they fall in love with him at the combine. Right. They will take him.
And I guess the thing that people get caught up on is, well, it's overdrafting. It's too high. He should be a 10th overall pick, for example. But if he's your guy, if he's your quarterback, it doesn't really matter then, right? If he's your guy, go get him.
I always think that way, but conventional wisdom says best player available, and look at what that's gotten the Browns. It's gotten them a quarterback who can't get on a defense that's finished last in the league in 2 straight years, and it got them a quarterback who they had to trade up for, who more than likely is going to be out of the league having not played a full season's worth of games yet. So that tells me all I need to know right there. that if the guy is there and you want him, regardless of whether you value that pick as being the spot for him or not, you should take him, because that's what's ultimately going to make your franchise better, is getting the guys you want and teaching them the right way. And hopefully, and I believe in my heart, that Hugh Jackson will take this evaluation process a hell of a lot more seriously than Ray Farmer and Mike Pettin did, where they absolutely refused to show up to pro days, absolutely refused to talk to quarterbacks at the combine. It basically told me that they were dictated that they were going to take Johnny Manziel, so they did not bother doing their due diligence on the rest of the quarterbacks class, trying to talk you-know-who out of making that decision and ultimately that draft pick, and rather they focused their efforts elsewhere, and it resulted in 18 losses in the last 21 games, and both of them being dismissed rather unceremoniously.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what if, Matt, and we'll get to Jared Goff in a moment. Now, what if you have Tennessee takes the offensive tackle overall, the top offensive tackle, for example, to protect Marcus Mariota? It would make sense. Joey Bosa's there, the guy being compared to arguably the best defender in the National Football League. Do you look at Joey Bosa? Do you look to say, okay, maybe we can get a quarterback who we like later and go with, if it's best available player, if you go that angle and Joey Bosa on your board, if the analytics say, the numbers say, the spreadsheet spits out, this is the best guy, would you look towards him even if you like a quarterback?
You have to do your due diligence. You also have to know what his background is with his suspension at Ohio State. It was academics and weed for the 4 players that were suspended. It was not dictated whether it was a combination of both for all 4, or whether some got suspended for academics, some got suspended for failed marijuana tests. You have to know his situation with the league substance abuse policy. You do not to say is he'll be a repeat offender, but you have Josh Gordon, who's in the program, and for all intents and purposes, a quarterback in Johnny Manziel, who the program was basically invented to help save. He's not in the program, to our knowledge, only because he's not reportedly failed a test, or he skirted the issue of taking a test because he went to rehab last year for 10 weeks.
Right.
So you have to take that in. The substance abuse policy, hell yeah, you've got to look at him. He's the best defensive player in the draft, arguably. And
you need help.
I'm not too big on comparisons, but he is a disruptive force, and the Browns need all the disruption they can get on the field, because Lord knows the off-the-field to on-the-field ratio of disruption and distraction was a hell of a lot more imbalanced towards off the field.
Yeah, you're listening to The Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. Andy McNamara alongside Matt Fleur-Jancic. Get us on Twitter at AndyMC81, at Matt Fleur-Jancic. We'll get to our poll results. We put it out on Twitter yesterday of who would you draft for the Browns with that second overall pick. Would it be a quarterback? Would it be Jared Goff? Would it be Paxton Lynch? Or would you not draft a quarterback with the first-round pick? We'll get to those results a little bit later in the show. So we talked about Paxton Lynch, appealing size, going to Jared Goff. Also, the ideal height to play in the AFC North. 6'4", 210 pounds. A little lean in the lower body. You like to see him bulk up there, not be quite so skimpy in the legs there. But we know, as far as he is the top-ranked quarterback, 4th overall if you're looking at the CBSSports.com rankings, 4th-ranked player overall. And if you look at what he's able to do, Matt, on the positive side, he's able to pick apart defenses. He's able to be, again, not as mobile as Lynch at all, but mobile enough. He looks to step up in the pocket. He looks to avoid, more shifty than a threat to run, let's say. But I love the arm. I like that he's able to have that touch down the sidelines, and he can be surgical. Like, when you look at what he can do, what he's done to defenses, I like everything about this guy from that standpoint. On the negative front, he has not taken almost no snaps under center like most college QBs, so the adjustment to the footwork would be a bit of an issue. What's your take on Jared Goff?
that it's going to be a hell of an adjustment to go from the shotgun 99% of the time to being under center probably 75% of the time when you're running a pro-style offense. Andy Dalton did a fair number of snaps in the shotgun with Hugh Jackson as his OC in Cincinnati, but he also had some really damn good targets to throw to that the Browns don't exactly have as of yet. So he's going to have to get used to going under center and helping out in the run game that way. He has to be able to make sure he has clean exchanges while backpedaling and turning at the same time rather than just being able to flex one muscle and extend the ball to the running back and have the running back do the work. So there's a lot of fine-tuning that needs to go on with Jared Goff, but you look at him and you see the overall body of work, and it's pretty impressive. Over 4,700 yards, over 40 touchdowns against, I believe it was under 20 interceptions, so he has a better than 2-to-1, might be closer to 3 or 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and that's pretty damn good. And if you take that into account and you look at him from an overall physical standpoint, you maybe put about 15 pounds of solid muscle on him in the off season if you can. Hopefully he doesn't gain that on the banquet/pre-draft circuit and instead gains it in the weight room. And you'd be pretty surprised what the young man can do. Personally, I think if somebody trades up over the Browns, that's the guy they're going after. I don't know that it's Paxton Lynch. I see it being Jared Goff being the guy that people are going to want to snag up real quick as their quarterback of the future. And in regard to a previous question that you had about starting him day one, having seen that so many times before, I just assume let Josh McCown or another guy come in and start the season, even if it means seeing bad football, because I don't want the kid's confidence to get rattled, and I don't want him to get seriously hurt.
Right.
I know it's football, and I know it's a contact sport, but having watched Tim Couch gut out 5 years of football and have a misdiagnosis because a Browns doctor couldn't read an X-ray or an MRI the right way, I just don't see starting a quarterback from day one in our situation being a good idea. If we were another team that maybe just had a down year but still had talent around him, I'd say go for it. I'd be a little bit more confident, but as of right now, I'm not confident that this team can, protect them because you don't know how many linemen they're going to have back. The likelihood is that you're losing your starting center, your starting right tackle, so that means you've got your left guard, your right guard, your left tackle if you don't trade him, and a backup who was horribly out of shape in his rookie season coming in to start either at left tackle, right tackle, or center, depending upon what you do in free agency. So you're going to put a rookie quarterback behind an offensive line that's never played together before after their veteran offensive line, which is supposed to be a strength of the team, got 3 quarterbacks sent to injured reserve or to the sidelines with injury. Awesome. Not a good plan. Keep them on the bench. Let them build up the line first and build up the core around him to give him a chance to succeed rather than be doomed to fail.
Yeah, it sounds, though, Matt, from hearing Hugh Jackson talk, that he wants to pick his guy and he wants to start him right away. And at least we have a head coach who knows what he wants, who's going to have a say, who is a quarterback whisperer type, who has had lots of success and is going to be able to have a heavy influence. Now, whether that's Jared Goff and Paxton Lynch, I guess, too, Matt, safe to say Jared Goff is our top pick?
It's fair to say it. I think it's Goff or bust. If Goff gets taken number 1 overall after Tennessee trades out, if they do trade out, there's no harm in going defense with Bosa and getting a pass disruptor. They talk about the 2 most important positions in football other than the quarterback are the pass protector and the pass rusher, and definitely Bosa fits the latter. So I would say if you can't get Goff, you hang around for the quarterback for the second round, and maybe you go get the kid out of North Dakota State that people seem to be really high on, that has a bunch of numbers and has a bunch of championships to go along with it.
Well, and that's Carson Wentz, I think, right?
Yes,
Right.
it's Wentz. He's led them to a ton of wins. He's thrown for 1 million yards. Could be the next Jimmy Garoppolo in
Ooh, I
terms
like
of
him.
small school guy.